I don't need to hear any more words from Kyrie. I need to see your play on the court, and your play on the court showed me something different than the words you delivered after the game. Because on the court, I saw a guy who was passive. I didn't see a guy who was aggressive. I didn't see a guy that was playing like his back was against the wall and they were in a closeout game scenario. After the game was over, Key, this blows my mind. After the game was over, brother, I'm watching Kyrie on the floor, and he's hugging and he's smiling with his former teammates after they've gotten swept. Swept. Key, they got swept. So they were the first preseason title favorite team to get swept in over 35 years. How do you have a smile on your face? Where's the intensity, Key? I don't get it.
You know, athletes are a little bit different this day and age. I mean, I hate to say it that way to make it sound like I'm 1,000 years old, but they're a little bit different. No, I'm not. And in the end, when you think about it, that's just who Kyrie is, right? He's outgoing personality with other players that he played with. Now, do I like that? No. Would I have done that? No. Would I have walked off the locker room into the locker room as the clock ticked down? Yes. And then I would have just dealt with the media after the fact. Look, he didn't play nearly as aggressive as we would have liked. He didn't do any of those sort of things. So a lot of this, in my opinion, falls on his shoulders, believe it or not. The way they got swept is a lot has to do with Kyrie's decision-making at the beginning when he came back from his little bit of a hiatus. He almost, to a degree, I would say, forced James Harden to ask for a trade. And then when he came back, yes, it was a lot of one-on-one. Oh, my God, Kyrie's cooking. He's doing something spectacular. Look, oh, I can't believe that this dude is balling the way that he's balling. He hasn't eaten. You know, we came up with every scenario we could think of. In the end, it all falls on his shoulders, though, because he is the main reason, in my opinion, the Brooklyn Nets are in this position. It's not about Steve Nash. It's not about Kevin Durant, because if his little butt was taking care of business and didn't make the decisions that he made, which at the end of the day is his choice, this team would have had James Harden on it, and they probably wouldn't be in this situation on the 4-0 sweep. They going to the second round.
I appreciate that point, because you can make a personal choice and it affects you professionally negatively. And even if you say, well, I would do it again, those are the consequences of your decision, right? Here's the thing, though, I think that you're hitting on, Jay, that I noticed in this series. I never thought they were going to win last night, the Nets. Even when KD made a beautiful pass, KD hit a shot, and it's like it's a one-point game, and I forgot how many possessions were left in the game. It wasn't much time left in the game. I'm like, man, the Nets aren't going to get this. And they should be up 3-1. If they were a team, they'd be up 3-1. But I think what you're identifying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if there's something wrong in the core of the team, if it's not right in there, you're going to lose those kind of close games, right? When you think about this series, even with everything that you guys said, and no James Harden and no Ben Simmons, and everything you said, Jay, those were 3 of those 4. I really think the Nets should. They should have won last night. They should have won when they were up 17 game 2. They should have won when KD got caught ball watching on Jason Tatum game 1. And if they were a team, if they were a unit, if that little thing inside was fixed, this is KD's team, they knew which direction they were pulling, they win those games, but they're not, and they lost those games.
Well, that's the problem, Max. Key, the best player sets the tone 24/7. And a lot of times, other players may not like it, but they know what time it is, right? There's a sense of power that comes along with that. And my thing is that when you watch this team throughout the entire year, that power there's been a struggle with it, right? It's been Kyrie's had a lot of power. I'm not condoning it, but even hearing inside rumors around James Harden saying that, well, why do you guys always acquiesce to Kyrie Irving? You guys are holding me to a different standard than you hold Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's not doing this, but then Steve Nash is yelling at me. Well, whose damn team is it? So that's what I'm getting to, Key. KD needs to be the guy like, yo, this is my team. That's it. Enough with all this. Kyrie, what you're doing is not acceptable. No more. It won't happen anymore.
Well, you got to remember, though, Jay, that's a personal relationship.
That's what I'm saying, though, Key. That personal relationship has too much influence over the organization.
Yeah, but when you have a personal relationship with somebody, it's a little bit different than you and I being able to just grab it and say, yo, you going to roll this way or else I'm out. Or there's a relationship, and that relationship lends itself to KD probably being less aggressive in his approach than a normal individual would be. And James Harden doesn't have a personal relationship with Kyrie, so at the end of the day, he like, bump that. I don't really care. And so the best thing for him to do was pack his bags and go somewhere else.
But it sounds key to me that Jay is saying that relationship needs to evolve, right?
Yes.
It needs to
Next
change
level
in
now.
certain
that
ways.
may be the case, Jay. You know better than me about the relationship because you've dealt with both parties in different circumstances. In the end, though, you still got a relationship there. And how much does Kevin Durant value that relationship with Kyrie Irving? If he values it to the degree that he's willing to continue to put up with whatever Kyrie is doing, what can we do? What could he do better yet?
You can value your brother while not minimizing what your legacy is going to be. And let me tell you how you value your brother the right way. Look, man, if you don't want to do things the way I want them to be done because I'm here to win chips, then we need to talk about this right now because then this needs to go different directions.
I think it's even deeper than that, Jay. What you seem to be, it's my interpretation of the conversation you guys are having is that the relationship itself needs to evolve.
That's what I just said.
In order for the product, but it's not so simple as, hey, this is the way we're going to play basketball. It's that their interpersonal relationship has to evolve, and that will manifest itself on the court, right? Like KD's got to assert himself.
But that's what I was just saying. That's what I just said. Like, Kyrie, look, either you're going to get on board with how I want to do things and what standard of excellence I have with how I see.
Media personalities are picking an our KJM mock draft. But, guys, we got to start with the Nets and the Celtics. Maybe I should say the Celtics and the Nets. Here's Kevin Durant at the post-game presser after he and Kyrie, neither guy really showed up the way you expected, and the Celtics came all the way back on them to win. Listen to KD.
They playing 2 or 3 guys on me sometimes when I'm off the ball. They, mucking up actions when I run off stuff. See Horford leaving his man to come over to hit me sometimes. They just playing 2 or 3 guys hit me wherever I go, and that's just the nature of the beast in the playoffs. And I feel like I got a couple good shots there in the fourth that just ain't go down. But yeah, I see a few of their guys around me every time I get the ball or, when I'm setting up. And so I got to be more patient, but also play fast sometimes too. And off the ball, just be able to move a little faster, screen a little harder for my guys to get free. But yeah, just watch film and get better.
Max and Keith, did you hear that? The plan, the scheme by Ime Udoka was brilliant. The strategy and the physicality. And every time KD turned and faced, he saw a multitude of defenders. He was getting bumped. He was getting raked down on each and every time. That's the reason why him and Kyrie, when it combined 1 of 17 in the second half. The plan was a masterpiece by Coach Udoka. You know what the plan was on the opposite side? It was the demise of a decision by both KD and Kyrie to have Steve Nash as their coach. I've said it multiple times on this show. So many people around the league have talked about Steve Nash's inability for in-game adjusting. And we saw that in their offense so many times in the second half. It was just, they were so stagnant. The ball died when it was in KD or Kyrie's hand. Nobody was moving off the ball. And that's when you talk about Boston going on a 23-4 run in the fourth quarter and coming back. This comes down to coaching to me. And I know we could talk about these guys, but there needs to be schemes that are put in place for these guys to be the best version of themselves. But at the end of the day, KD and Kyrie were the ones that stamped Steve Nash to be that guy. They called it. Instead of having a veteran coach, a guy that was able to draw up unique plays, give you different counters to all the defensive schemes of Boston, it felt like they were running the same sets over and over and over. And as anybody go, look, when people know where you're going each and every time, they know how to scheme for that. And that's exactly what Ime Udoka did last night. Exactly.
Down, Jay, 2 games down. I would say, I understand exactly what you're saying. You played in the NBA, you know far better than me. But I would think that in Game 3, 2 games at home court for Boston, you probably give them that, regardless to what the situation is, given the fact that the scheme and the way that they was playing. And now Brooklyn gets an opportunity to go home and make those adjustments. Now, if you tell me the same thing happens in Game 3, then I would certainly point to Steve Nash and start to say to myself, he doesn't have a clue of what he's doing. He hasn't been coaching long enough to see these sort of things. But I want to ask you, as a number 2 pick in the draft for a reason, and a guy who had triple doubles in his career and all that, Steve Nash was a point guard, and you mentioned the adjustment factor. If he was the point guard on the team, not the coach, does he see it different?
Well, I think, yeah, when you're on the floor, you actually, it's a different feel. But, I mean, that's why you bring him as a head coach, though, Key, right? Because he has all the experience on the floor. You're talking about a 2-time MVP. You're talking about a guy that can probe the defense better than anybody else that has probably played the game, one of the best to ever do it, an elite passer. But it's different when you're on the sidelines, removed away from all the physicality and the feel of the game, right? Like, now your feel of the game is resorted to the players who are playing in the game. It's not your feel. But just as talked about your point, Key, just a little stat for you. Teams that have won the first 2 games of a best-of-7 series at home have won the series 94% of the time. 94% of the time.
One thing you could say about every game 2 ever played, it's either one team is up 2-0 and is overwhelmingly likely to win the series. This is why you want home court, right? Or it's knotted up 1-1, and it's anybody's series. And that's why when the Nets were up so big last night, that second half collapse was especially bad. And the idea that, this is the way they're guarding KD. Come on, man. All the super greats always get guarded.